Hey, everybody. It is the ShopNotes podcast, episode number 275. I'm Phil, along with Logan. Today, we're going to be giving a shop update, talk about some e-learning courses that we have going on here, check in with all the projects that we've done, give a little post report on the Grizzly tent sale that we were at a few weeks ago, and just the general stuff that you normally expect from us here. If you want to join in, you can. Send us your comments and questions to woodsmith@woodsmith.com or subscribe to the ShopNotes podcast YouTube channel, where you can leave questions, comments, and smart remarks there, along with everybody else. We'd love to hear you. So let's get started. It's springtime, which means I can have the garage door open in my shop, working on projects all Saturday long. When you're working on a project in the shop, you put in hours of effort. The last thing you want is for it to come apart because the glue didn't hold. That's why many pros keep a bottle of Gorilla Wood Glue on the bench. Gorilla Wood Glue has higher solids for a stronger bond, dries a natural color with less yellowing, and cleans up with water. It's the #1 most used brand by woodworking pros, and it's easy enough for any skill level. Grab Gorilla Wood Filler too. Glue for the strength, filler for the finish, the complete woodworking solution. Gorilla, tough enough for the pros, easy enough for everyone. Order yours today at GorillaTough.com/ShopNotes. That's GorillaTough.com/ShopNotes.
You know, I'm looking at the end of this molding plane.
Yeah.
It says T. Turner. You think that's Tina Turner?
Probably. Yeah.
It says Queen something. I don't know what it says. And then Sheffield.
All right.
I just love looking at the history of those things. That's cool.
All right. We'll check in on comments from the last episode. Tree of Life Woodworking says, someday I will attempt the Grizzly Maker Challenge. I was born in Bellingham, Washington, and my stepdad worked for them years ago. My mom knew Shiraz back then. Because of all these factors combined, I always feel a connection to the brand. Same with Fast Cap, because they were up near Bellingham as well. Love their measuring tapes. Got a generic username that says, I have a Rockwell Blade Runner X2 that I use all the time. Nice handy saw. Between the Kerfs says, Phil, the Fleet Farm still has 2 gas stations on the north and south side of Wisconsin Avenue up in my hometown in Appleton. And they still give free popcorn with each fill up too. It's one of the few places in town that has non-ethanol gasoline. Which Logan and I did our trip to the Grizzly tent sale, which apparently is an annual tradition now.
I guess.
So it was kind of interesting as we were driving down, because we kind of got out of our gas station comfort zone. And then you just had to does this look like a good place to stop? I don't know. What's their coffee like?
Awful. The answer is awful. Oh.
Yeah.
I always like the gas stations you go into where there's plexiglass between you and the cashier.
Right. Yeah, I don't. Mm-hmm. Nothing says customer service like stay away.
Like bulletproof glass.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of what places we stopped at. I think there was a Casey's in there, which isn't bad.
Yeah. I think we stopped at a Casey's. We also stopped at the one where I filled up diesel, and then the lady was mean mugging me as they pulled in.
Yeah,
yelled at her to take a picture, but I don't think she did. It might have been that she recognized us from the TV show. That was probably it. She looked like our demographic.
Yeah. When we were in Springfield, we were within striking distance of a Buc-ee's, but didn't actually go there. They're usually well outside of a town, but
yep.
And I won't get into the Buc-ee's debate because I know that there are some very strong Buc-ee's feelings out there.
Do we call them Buckers? That's what they are.
Right. Boneyboard Woodshop says, I was thinking about doing the Grizzly Maker Challenge and saw some of the work, and I think I'm going to pass because of the talent I'm seeing. But if it helps to win a vote for Logan, New Jersey has great pizza and coffee places, and I know someone who has walnut trees that need to come down and doesn't want the lumber.
I don't mind Jersey. Like, my uncle, my late uncle, was the chef of the team chef for the Jersey Devil Rays, the NHL team. And he claimed, he's from Cedar Rapids, Iowa, but he claimed it was the armpit of America. And I disagree. I don't mind Jersey. Like, it's the Garden State, right? Like, isn't that Jersey?
Yeah. Yep.
I don't mind Jersey. I actually love the Northeast.
There you go. I feel like you could probably say this about a lot of the states, that there's a little bit of a split personality. Yeah. But I think one of the reasons that it applies to New Jersey is because it's relatively small in size, but you have that very urbanized northern tier connected to the New York metropolitan area. And then in the South, you're kind of connected to Philadelphia. And then in between is this Garden State.
Yeah. One of our contributing writers, Yoav Lieberman, lives in Jersey, I believe. And he heads into basically the school he teaches at is like a block off of Central Park. Like it is like you stand at the front door and you turn right and you can see Central Park like right there. And he takes I believe he said he takes a train in from his house in Jersey. And, like they live in the suburbs, they got a yard. He's always walking in the neighborhood, collecting logs and doing stuff like that. So like, definitely not the city, but he's like, it's an hour to get into the city. I'm like, oh, yeah, okay. And it's an hour where you're doing something. You're not driving. You can be working on a book or, whatever. So, whatever.
I feel like it's similar to our compatriots in fine woodworking in Connecticut, where they feel like as a train ride, they're about that same sort of distance away from the city.
Yep.
Which it's interesting to talk to like Ben and Mike, because for all the stereotypes that East Coast folks seem to have about Midwesterners, I have similar ones for the East Coast, because I essentially thought that Connecticut was really just one large suburb of New York City. When we were talking with Ben and then one of our marketing folk up there, Danielle, about the number of bears in Connecticut, which is where it kind of broke me a little bit. Because like I said, it just feels like when you see stuff from Connecticut, it's just
I learned, fun fact, I learned to ride dirt bikes and motorcycles for the first time in Connecticut, in the woods of Connecticut, which if anybody lives in Connecticut, they know that they are rocky and hilly, which is a terrible combination to learn to ride a dirt bike on.
Or maybe the best.
Trial by fire.
Yep. Let's see. Almost Perfection says, I grew up in a small town, Iowa, so practically raised on Casey's Pizza or a personal pan pizza from Book It. True.
I don't know Book It.
Book It was the program that Pizza Hut sponsored during the summer. They had like a reading.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I got the Pizza Hut pizzas for reading books. Absolutely. I didn't realize it was called Book It. Okay.
Yeah. Which apparently there's still a number of the like classic style Pizza Huts out there, including quite a few of them in Iowa.
Yeah, they started bringing some of them back, like redecorating, like bringing back the red plastic cups and stuff.
Yeah. Stieg7 says, quick trip all day long here in Wisconsin and try to hit Buc-ee's when traveling. There you go. Michael Thompson says, to paraphrase Miracle Max, John Doyle is the Brute Squad. And as far as the gas station food goes, I'm going to put in a plug for Sheetz, Southwestern Pennsylvania, Northeastern Ohio. Food definitely is pretty good.
See, I've never been impressed with Sheetz. I've tried it. I haven't been a huge fan. Although I will not claim to be a gas station food connoisseur.
Yeah.
Gas station donuts, however. Then you're talking my jam. I have not had the Sheetz donuts.
Okay.
So I think around here, Quick Star wins out on their donuts. Casey's for a long time, but Quick Star quickly took over.
Okay. I don't usually do donuts for some reason.
Yeah, I don't anymore, but I used to. And man, those dunkers from Quick Star, they're like an old fashioned kind of like an old fashioned donut.
They are,
where they're kind of crispy.
Yeah.
Oh, so good.
Although my brother just sent on our family chat. No, it was my sister. She works for the Village of Kimberly in Wisconsin, and somebody had brought in the Quick Star Dunkers, but they were Mountain Dew flavored.
I mean, I get it. Like sometimes you're using carbonated liquids in donut or in baking, right? So using like soda water or whatever. Like, so I get it, but like, I don't know that I want Mountain Dew flavor. Like, does it retain any caffeine through the baking process? Because you might be onto something there.
Right. Yeah.
But at that point, like, just give me like espresso frosting on the donuts.
Yeah.
You know, then you have a chocolate latte donut. I think we're onto something. Now I know why the late Glenn Huey left woodworking for donuts.
Because it was a natural progression.
It was the progression.
Michael Thompson continues. He says, as for old tools, I wonder if the change to sealed bearings and not being easily repairable by the owner is an artifact of us being hobbyist. For example, in 2006, I bought a Delta 12.5-inch lunchbox planer for about $300. It lasted almost 20 years with me doing nothing more than cleaning the rollers and waxing the table occasionally, and was generally a good tool. I assume that one would have been easier. I assume that one that would have been easier for me to work on would have cost double or triple due to Delta now selling fewer machines, which actually would have put it well out of my price range at the time. Yes, it seems wasteful, but I think for hobbyists, these are the trade-offs we have to consider.
Yeah. See, I'm opposite. I feel like sealed bearings, like when I talk about sealed bearings, I'm talking about ball bearings that have, they're permanently lubricated. So they have rubber gaskets on the sides, flanges that keep the oil or the grease inside of them. Like, I feel like those are easier for a hobbyist to replace than like dealing with an oil bath bearing or Babbitt bearings.
Sure.
So like, I get what he's saying, but I also think that the advent of sealed ball bearings in machines really has helped. It prolongs the life of the bearing for sure. And I feel like it's fairly easy. You could buy a $20 bearing punch kit on Amazon and punch pretty much any size bearing out of a housing and put a new one in. So,
yeah.
Unless it's a Morris taper spindle on a Delta drill press, then you can't get it out.
Yeah. Still don't quite understand that, but what do you do? Yep. Puppy Doc says, so first, am I the first Chunka Trunk franchisee? I'm not sure if I should feel honored or embarrassed. He goes, regarding fuel stops for the driver and the truck, quick trip all the way. I've stopped at several Casey's, and I have to say I always come out feeling like I need a shower and a delousing. Which is a hot take. Keep in mind that the comments from our listeners do not necessarily represent the viewpoints of
the host,
Phil, Logan, or John Woodsmith or Active Interest Media.
Sometimes they do, but not always.
Yeah. I've never been inside one that was remotely clean. Having said that, back when I was in college nearly 100 years ago, the one local Quick Trip wasn't any better. They've come a long way since then. Back then, my preference was for Super America. I think they were bought out by the Speedway chain.
So the next time Bob comes down to Des Moines, there is a Casey's on the north side of Ankeny, right off the. It's kind of in between Ankeny and Ames or Huxley. Okay. It's right off the highway. It's a brand new one. It's super nice. Casey's did a rebranding maybe 4 or 5 years ago,
right?
Maybe longer than that, and they gutted it. So I know what Bob's saying, where it's like some of those and the small town Casey's are still exactly as they were. Like you pull up to them and they have like what looks like a red brick roof type thing on them, right. And you walk in and you kind of feel like you need a shower after you leave it. The new Casey's are actually really nice. Like they have full kitchens. Like they're pretty nice.
Yeah.
So then actually the one fairly close to my house. So next time Bob's out here, he's supposed to be coming to pick up a scroll saw from me. When he comes to pick that up, I will direct him to the proper Casey's experience.
There you go. Yeah, there's several in the metro area that are pretty nice.
Yeah. The one I don't get is the one down the road from the office at Price Chopper. Because it turned from like the Dolls gas station into a Casey's. Yeah, and it was something in between, and it doesn't match any of the layouts of other. Like Casey's are pretty uniform. Like you can walk in and they're kind of always the same. Right. I mean, that's kind of the definition of chain. But yeah, but that one's not. It's different. So okay. I feel like we could spin off like an entire like review series on YouTube on gas stations. I think we probably could. Gas station connoisseurs or whatever. Yes. Yep. So yeah. Mm-hmm. Speaking of that one, because all of our listeners who aren't from Des Moines are really going to find this fascinating. But in that same block where it used to be Dolls is now Price Chopper. Their gas station is the Casey's. On the opposite corner, they had built a building that was sort of like ready-made to be a bank, I think, or a little credit union kind of thing. Yep. And for years, it sat empty. But over the last few months, it has turned into a Domino's Pizza. Is it really? Yeah. Which in one sense is sort of genius in the sense that where the drive-up lanes would have been for the gas or for the bank are where the drivers are for. So they're protected. They're undercover. But then the building itself is right on the corner. And that little area of Des Moines is this, I think, kind of unsung fun spot in the city. Just lots of people walking around in the neighborhood. And I can't tell you how many times I've been driving through during my commute times and see people like walking around with like a little box of Domino's. Because I go to Price Chopper all the time. I love that store. Yeah. And it's one of those things, what do they call it? The Mandela effect, where it's like in my head, it's a bank. Right. Like, I was just there last week and I'm like, yeah, it's a bank. It's like Great Western Bank. Yeah. Huh. Then I realized I turned it into Domino's. Yeah. And there's big because normally some businesses, especially food places, don't really have much in the way of windows. But this one has windows on two corners and you can see all the stuff going on the inside. It's kind of a fun for a Domino's Pizza. That's kind of a cool little, put it in perspective. It's a Domino's Pizza still. Right. But it's still trying to fit into the neighborhood, which I'll give them credit for. Yeah. Mad Max 72 says that there are stores in Germany that will rent woodworking tools, which is kind of cool. Ooh. Yeah, I've thought about that. Like, is that an interesting business model or not? And then I just start to get mad at what people have done to the tools. Yeah. So it's like maybe it's just one of those things where it's like we're all going to put our heads down, and if a tool shows up, yeah. Well, it's like I don't generally loan out tools. I have loaned out my paint sprayer a few times, and there was one time I loaned out a paint sprayer to a friend. Great people, love the people I loaned it to. They were painting a new house that they had bought, and he's like, "Hey, I'm done with it." And I was like, "Cool, I'm out of town. It's going to be a week and a half till I can come get it." Never cleaned it out, so it was full of paint. I'm like,
yeah.
So there's just like, and like they don't know any better. So it's
right.
One of those things. I feel like it's different renting out tools like that versus I would be interested in like owning a fleet of like rental equipment, like skid loaders or stump grinders, or like, to me, that's super interesting. And they're always busy. They're always booked. But I feel like then you're maybe catering a little bit more towards the professional versus like, here, take my domino for 2 days.
2 days. Yeah.
Like, yeah, what are you getting?
Right. I don't know. Apparently this whole gas station thing has touched a nerve with listeners. Stephen Ferguson says there's no denying Casey's Pizza, but give Quickstar/Trip their frozen pothole pizza a try. It's life-changing.
I don't even know what that is.
So apparently it's just like you take a frozen pizza you take home like a Jack's or
okay.
But apparently even better than that.
Why is it called pothole pizza?
I don't know.
Oh, there's a question on their website that says, why pothole? Because these pies go hard. No cardboard vibes here.
Okay.
Still doesn't explain why it's... Anyways.
Yeah.
They do look delicious.
Bill Burrell says, our daughter recently graduated from college and moved from our home in eastern Wisconsin to north central Iowa to be with her boyfriend. I'm totally okay with the fact that she's a Bears fan and the fact that she's not a Catholic, but the idea that she's a big fan of Casey's and not Quick Trip is quite bothersome to my wife and I.
That's the line. That is the line, is the choice of gas stations.
All right. We'd love to hear from anybody else down and around this great country of ours as to what your local gas station chain situation is. Is it dominated by any particular chains? Do you have a favorite mom and pop one that you just love stopping in at, and why? These are all woodworking questions, because if there's one thing that woodworkers need to do is stop occasionally to pick up some refreshments for in the shop. And what better place than a good gas station? And it's also maybe a great place for you to get together with other woodworkers in your area. I know there's quite a few folk that my mom would call Romeos, retired old men eating out, who need to get together somewhere, and a gas station sometimes provides just that spot. So there you go. Also, thanks everybody to writing in on that, because it's a delight, frankly. All right. I'm going to switch gears, talk about some e-learning courses that we have going on here, which is going to sound a little self-serving and a little promotional on it, but this is a free podcast, frankly, people. So occasionally we're going to talk about the stuff that we do here that help us pay our bills.
Well, and like, to be fair, like the one I filmed last week is something I love to do, and it kind of relit a spark in me to do it. So it's like, it's kind of still what we'll get into that, but not this second. I gotta set myself up for it.
Yeah. For example, just a few months ago, I think probably just a month ago now, we released one called Advanced Router Table Techniques that I filmed here. And anybody who's followed my writing or any of the stuff that I do TV show wise or whatever, you should know by now that I love using a router, which I feel like can be a hot take in different parts of the woodworking world. Like, it seems very trendy to talk about how much you hate a router because it screams and blah, 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 and whatever. But in the classes that I've done, like for the Des Moines woodworkers, learning to use a router is a very popular one. And once I go through some of the course material that I do for those classes, it makes a big difference in people's woodworking. And I just love it as a tool. So in the router table class is a follow-up to one that I did like I don't really care to admit how long ago that was. Maybe 8 years ago, something like
it's
that.
The old video studio, so probably.
Yeah. Was Router Table Essentials. So now there's kind of like a bookend version of that. So there's a lot of fun stuff that we talk about in terms of both joinery techniques and a lot of tips and tricks for using a router table in a way that makes sense of it. Because I think there's plenty of router books out there and videos where it's like, it's kind of like the Jurassic Park of router tables. Like, just because you can use a router to do this doesn't mean that you should.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's one that we have coming out. The whole crew here at Woodsmith is about ready to start filming one in the next month or so on finishing. Kind of the tentative title is the Woodsmith Guide to Finishing, where it's very practical focused. This is not super high end, whatever. These are finishing techniques that we use, and they're for everyday woodworkers.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll dive into a lot of stuff on that one. So I'm looking forward to that one. And then there's the one that you were just doing, Logan, because we were talking about fixing up my old Delta drill press, which sadly, due to life, work, blah, 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 I'm still not done with.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a different kind of old tools that you were looking at.
Yeah, it was brought up. So we always have a schedule of like, here's the courses we want to shoot this year. Here's what we're interested in. Here's our, talent we want to bring in on doing some of these. And it was brought up like, hey, maybe you should do a hand tool restoration one. Like, you did that for a long time. Like, that's something you like to do. Like, maybe you should do that. And I was like, I got old tools. I'll tell you what, like, yeah. So last week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we shot an online course on basic hand tool restoration. And I'm not talking like restoring them to put them in the showcase. I'm talking about like restoring them for use. Like, I want the tool to look good, but more importantly, I want it to function well. So, and the problem is doing a course like this where it's a hand tool restoration is, it's like, how do you hit every tool that somebody's going to want to restore? Like, somebody's going to want to restore a, nickel plated router plane. Somebody's going to want to restore a bench plane. Somebody's going to want to restore Goodell Pratt little model maker's vise. Like, there's thousands of vintage tools, and you can, approach it from any way you want. So my approach was, let's look at like 3 common woodworking hand tools, and some of the techniques for each one of those can be applied to cover pretty much the basis of most tool restoration, right? So we did a hand plane. We did this. It's now dusty because I was routing MDF on the workbench, but we did this Stanley number 605 Bedrock jack plane. So in that, we cover derusting the body. We cover tote repair. So repairing the totes. This one happens to have a stamp. I don't know if you'll show up or not. It says Board of Education on it. So this was a school plane. So we covered repairing totes. This one actually didn't need repaired. So we grabbed a tote off of a number 3 that was cracked in half, and I showed how I do my repairs on those. We covered refinishing them. So I showed using some shellac to do it, because a lot of people like to use shellac. Personally, I prefer to use like a buffing wax on them and a paste wax. So we did that. Also covered like if you derust a tool and the japanning is pretty much shot, like, what do you do with it? Like, we are planning on doing an advanced hand tool restoration where we will actually cover re-japanning stuff. But in this course, we talked about, this is my user restoration guide. So like, I use a high temp engine enamel that's black. It matches the original Japanning very closely. Actually, the frog on this one was repainted to match, and it is like a spot on match. I don't know that anybody could tell me it wasn't repainted and not original Japanning. So that covered the bench plane. And then, of course, we covered some sharpening, some flattening, and tuning it up, because that's, I think, a big part of it. We also did, the second thing we did was chisels. So chisels, I think, in my opinion, are one of the best bang for the bucks, right? Like when you're comparing new to vintage, like you can find vintage chisels pretty cheaply, like sub $5 for a chisel, and it is every bit as good. Sorry, blue spruce. It's every bit as good as a blue spruce chisel. It's going to require more work, and it's not going to be as pretty. But we talked about taking a chisel, and then we like chisels generally are in pretty good shape. So we didn't really cover derusting them because they're usually not roached out. Usually they're like, this is as I found it, keen cutter socket chisel, right? Like it's in good shape. It needed sharpen and flatten. So I showed how to do that. And we actually did that with a honing guide. So I showed sharpening freehand with the hand plane iron, with a guide with this, flattening the back. But then we also covered turning a socket style handle. So that is nice little apple wood one. And then we also showed turning a tang style handle, because those are the two types you're going to find. You're going to find tang, where you burn in the tang. So we burned the tang in and did a ferrule for this one. And then we did the socket for that guy. So between those two, that covers most of chisels. Only thing we didn't really cover was mortise chisels. It's a burned in chisel. It's just a bigger handle.
Yeah.
But I really like showing how to, this handle is like, it's a tight fit in there. And then once you hit it in, it's not coming out until you give it a couple taps, and then it pops right out. Like getting a good fit on these is super satisfying when you get a fit like that. And it just like, it looks good, and you can tailor the handle to whatever style you want. This is based on a vintage like Buck Brothers handle. Usually they have a leather strike cap here. I didn't put the strike cap on. The strike caps, I think, are kind of goofy because there's always a little nubbin of wood in the center anyways. So you're always hitting the wood anyways.
Yeah.
Like, so I guess the only thing the leather strike cap is doing is keeping the edges from mushrooming, whatever. Maybe we'll do that in advance course. I'll show how to put leather on a chisel handle like that.
Well, because sometimes there's leather in between the tang.
Yeah. I've even seen them in between. I've even seen them between the sockets too, kind of as a cushion. Yeah. Which I get, but also I want all my force of my mallet blow to go into that tip of the chisel. Into the blade. I don't want a shock absorber.
One thing that I've found about chisels is that you've already mentioned they're usually cheap, and you're usually finding them in garage sales in a box of other stuff. So you are definitely getting them for cheap. But the other thing, like unlike a hand plane, like John right now is on vacation, and he sent us photos of walking through a antique mall and showed off a couple of hand planes that he saw there. And almost any tool is salvageable.
Yes.
But it just depends on how much time and effort you want to put into it. So I think there's a line on hand planes, because he showed a couple of hand planes that were just like, pass.
Yep.
Just because of the amount of work it would require.
Yeah.
Chisels, because of their simplicity, they can be in pretty awful condition, and you can still turn out a great tool in a short amount of time.
Yes. I think it's less common to find them in like roached out condition than it is like, usually they're pretty good. Like they might have a little discoloration on them, but I don't know if they use like a chromium, or if they used a chromium steel, or what they used, because they don't ever seem to be full of rust. Some of the real old ones do, because I think they were a carbon steel.
They rusted.
But like the worst you find is something like this guy where, there's discoloration there. I don't know if that's going to focus on there or not. There's discoloration on there, but it's not pitted really. There's some small pits, but it'll come out. Clearly I was having fun turning chisels. So after everybody left, I turned a few more handles, but yeah, I don't know. I just, yeah, there's another one I did. So it's just one of those things. The other thing about chisels backing up, the first thing I talk about in each one of these segments is what I look for in the tool. So like in hand planes, what am I looking for? Like I'm looking at condition, I'm looking at brand, because there were some god awful hand plane makers that they were probably fine for what they were for, but they were not like, you have the top makers of vintage hand planes. You got Stanley, you got Union, you have Ohio Tool Company, Sargent, Miller's Falls. Yeah. Yep. Those are the big ones. They made great planes, and those are what I'm looking for. Any other brands like a Defiance or Reliable, a Stanley Handyman, they were just named Handyman, the Sears lines, like they were probably fine, but they're not worth my time, to be honest with you. When it comes to chisels, though, 99.9% of them are great. Like chisels were so simple that people could just make good chisels. So I never find one where I'm like, yep, this brand is awful, unless somebody, used it as a fire poker at one point and removed the tempering on it. And even then you can reharden the edge.
Yeah. Cause I had that 2-inch chisel from you where it's kind of got an aluminum foil edge to it right now. But I think we just need to reharden it. But yeah, I would agree on that too, because like you said, most of the time, if there's something wrong with it, it's that at one point, two things could have happened. It was used to split landscape pavers and the edge is just beat up. But that's not hard to do. Grinder, whatever, nope. Get back to it. The other is if it lost its wood handle at some point on a socket chisel, and then somebody was just banging away at the socket and then that got mushroomed over. But again, like 2 minutes at a grinder or with a file or a Dremel even, and you have that cleaned up. And there's a certain class to older tools, especially chisels.
Yep.
Where they just have a fun look to it and a nice feel.
Yeah. I mean, come on, like they just look good. This is actually my favorite, one of my favorite chisels. It's an old Witherby, and the edge is blunted, so I use it like a scraper. So it's ground at 90 degrees. I freaking love this thing. I just made a handle for it because I've always used it just as the socket. But so yeah, we covered bench planes, the metal restoration, chisel turning, and what to look for in chisels, and then. At the beginning of the course, I talk about, here's the tools we're covering. I'm not covering saws. Because Mark Harrell from the founder of Bad Axe Toolworks, came down and did a video course with us last year. He's so much better at saws than I am. We're letting Mark do that. Like, I'm not touching it. So we did molding planes. The one we did, I don't remember. Oh, it was this one. So once again, dusty because it was sitting on the bench, but we cleaned up and tuned up this molding plane. This is a number 14, and is she sharp too? Showed cleaning that up because I think the big thing with molding planes is they're also a great buy. Like I will never take away from a modern hand plane maker that's making hollows and rounds or molding planes. I have my new Heritage back there from Steven. Like they're beautiful. They're a lot of work to make, so they're fairly expensive, but you can usually find these, a group of these for $5 a piece at an antique store. And a lot of times they're in pretty decent condition. Sometimes they're roached out. Sometimes these are shot, and there are certain things to look for. Like, is the sole flat? Is the boxing missing, or is it coming out? So we talk about addressing some of those. But it's a great buy. And then the biggest thing here is like, how do you clean up a wood body tool? Like, what do you use to clean up a wood body tool? Do you scrape it? Do you sand it? You don't do either of those. But you can, so we show making a mixture of linseed oil, turpentine, and vinegar, kind of as a cleaning and nourishing mixture.
Okay.
It separates. So you shake it up, get it to all, make salad dressing out of it. Then you use a Scotch-Brite pad to scrub. And not only does it rehydrate the plane or the wood, it also cleans. So this had, and you can see just a touch of it. See that blue paint on there? Like this thing was covered in blue oil paint. I don't know if somebody at some point was like, yep, all the blue painted planes are mine. But I had to get a bunch of that off. But then we showed sharpening it. We didn't go into tuning up like the bed and the wedge on these. I think we might try to do that in the advanced course because that's a little more, okay, you really have a special plane that you really want to tune up. Like most hollows and rounds, which is kind of what we're talking about, don't usually need that. So, so those are what we talked about. I also spent I probably spent an hour talking about where I find these tools. Like,
oh, nice. That's cool.
So we talk about like antique stores, flea markets. Nate and I went and shot some video in an antique store, walking around and kind of looking at what we found in there. And then we spent a long time going through like websites, like showing, hey, here's what I look for on Facebook Marketplace. Here's what I look for on Craigslist. Let's show how we use eBay to kind of gauge the market. Like, is this a good price for this tool, or is this way overpriced? Like, so I show how to kind of filter by sold auctions, so you can actually find what things really sold for versus
what they're listed for.
What they're listed for, because asking and sold price are not the same thing. So yeah, it was pretty comprehensive as far as like a entry level to hand tool restoration. We spent the most time on the bench plane because that is what most people are going to be interested in. I believe it's also the largest and the most complex.
Sure.
But we showed a few others. And it kind of reignited my like, I have two plane bodies soaking right now in evaporust. Like it reignited a hyperfixation.
I mean, I am going to put a photo that you had sent out of a bunch of the old tools that you had in your shop that you had just brought out for this, put on the bench. So, I mean, you have some stuff there. So
yeah, there's things, and there's planes that are like, there are tools that are not worth restoring. And we go through those. Like, here's what makes this not worth a restoration. Because sometimes the steaks are better than the whole cow, like let's pull the frog off. That's worthwhile for somebody to be able to fix their plane because they have a broken frog. So there we go. And like, I'm trying to approach this as a user of hand tools. Like, here's how you can restore this for yourself. But during the course, I'm also talking a lot about, here's how I'm approaching this, because I'm reselling these. Like, these are not, all of like this whole thing with me started as a way to get good tools in my shop, and it evolved into me being able to afford to buy, some of my nicer tools by selling these tools. And so, I'm trying to keep in mind that people are probably doing this for their own tools. However, I want people to understand, like, this is why I'm looking at it this way, because you can take this plane that you maybe spent $15 on and clean up the parts, sell them individually if the plane is shot, and you can probably make 80 or $90 on it. And if you don't have anything else to do, $80 to $90 is a good little use of your time.
Right. Yeah. Saying that, there really are broad categories of people that are looking at old tools. Like you said, and same for me as I got into old tools, simple for the fact of the economics of it, that, my time to me was free when I didn't have a lot of cash. Still don't necessarily. But hey, Goose.
He's sniffing the old tools.
Yeah. So that's a great way to do it. Plus, it also gives you a really good idea of how tools work.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's as important as getting a low-cost tool. Then there's can I do this as a side hustle sort of thing? Or are you just that mechanically the tinker sort?
Yeah. Are you mechanically driven? Like you have to fidget with something.
And it's like, it's like those guys in the car restoration field where it's like, this thing was buried under cow manure and field rocks for 70 years. And the only thing identifying the car is that it's a frame. And then you just build the whole thing on top of it. Then yes, there is really no tool that's beyond saving if you're ready to do. And if that's your jam, man, I love your tribe. So, but also know that the needs of each one of those are very different.
Yeah. So just kind of, I'm obviously we just shot this last week. So Nate is working on editing that video series. And that will go for sale. I think the goal is end of July, middle of July. I don't remember.
Yeah.
But I'm already kind of like got wheels turning in my head on like an advanced restoration class. And I mentioned it several times during the video, like, hey, we'll talk about this in the advanced class. So I kind of tied myself into it, but I want to cover stuff like, electrolysis, rust removal, nickel plating, cause you can do nickel plating in your shop.
Which is totally different from nickel back.
Yes, it is. They both suck to do. It's like you have to listen to Nickelback. You have to replate your tools. The fine tuning of molding planes. I don't know if I want to get into reboxing a plane because that's kind of a thing. But maybe we'll look at that.
I mean, maybe doing like making new wedges.
Yeah, absolutely. Making new totes, turning new knobs for a hand plane. There's a lot of things we can cover in those. And I think that there's enough content there to kind of be like, okay, here's how you do all of this stuff.
Yeah. No, I definitely think so. I mean, we were toying around just in talking about my Delta drill press. Like I think there's things that you could do with vintage woodworking machines too that would be an interesting class. Or we had even talked about it as a weekend class in person, like bring a hand plane and one other tool, and over a Friday, Saturday, we'll get both of those working and you'll learn so much more about your tools and have so much more fun using them. Yeah.
The one that I really wanted to touch on last week, we ran out of time. Like there's so like clearly everybody listening to this podcast knows I can talk forever. Right. So like, I just keep going. And the one I wanted to touch on, I said that I think chisels are one of the best purchases when you compare to a new chisel. That the other one is axes, like carving axes. Like you go to buy a new axe from a maker, like this one is out of the Ukraine. Not a super well-known maker, like a well-known maker like Liam Hoffman or somebody would be like, this would be a $400 or $500 carving axe. This was a $250 carving axe from Strongway, but I can walk into a flea market, buy an axe head that is maybe a hewing axe, can be used as a carving axe for $5, and I can rehang it. But rehanging a handle on a tool like this is, you have to get it right, or else you're fighting a wiggly head. So I wanted to cover that, and that can be applied to axes. It can be applied to hammers, froze, stuff like that. Also, when I ordered the handles for the axes, because I plan on doing that, I also ordered a new cant hook handle.
Right.
So I restored my cant hook last weekend. Was repainting it, rehanging it, had to reshape the end to get it to fit. So yeah, it was fun. But this whole course just kind of got me re-excited for old tools, and I'm like, oh, like. This is not what I need.
Well, because I was also thinking, you could get into a little bit some of the, all woodworking tools are specialty tools, let's be honest. But, draw knives, sort of related to chisels, but have some of their own issues.
Yep. Spoke shaves, wooden spoke shaves.
Spoke shaves, bit braces, egg beater drills.
Yep. Sharpening bits.
You're right. Like auger bits and whatever.
Yep.
And
yeah. So there's a lot of content there. We'll see. It will all be predicated on how well this course does.
Yeah.
And like the part of me just is like, I would just like to do this as a video series on YouTube for everybody. But also we had 4 people here for 4 days filming. It was an expensive thing to produce. So but yeah, so I don't know. It would be cool. It was fun. It kind of led to me sorting through my molding planes. I moved my molding planes up high, brought another cabinet in here to get my toolboxes off the ground, and started sorting through my molding planes. So I am sitting here with, I don't know, probably 15 or 16 molding planes that are doubles of stuff that was in my tool cabinet. So those need to be moved along. I currently have a large pile of tools to sell over on the side, and I kind of want to do a tool garage sale. Maybe WIA set up a parking lot,
a little booth
sale in the morning,
which is a great transition, Logan. I know you were planning on
this. Teed that up. Yep.
Yeah. So step 1 before we get there is, if you're interested in old tools, make sure you keep your eyes peeled for that course coming out. Support it. If you want to see more of that kind of stuff done, tell your people about it. But then also, like, if old tools are fun for you, but the restoration part isn't necessarily, then keep track of Logan online and see some new old tools heading out the door here pretty soon. Now, Woodworking in America, we're going to be in our 3rd year already, this October 9th and 10th here in Des Moines. And one of the parts of it is doing the open house here at the offices, where you get to see the set of the TV show, the photo studio, what's going on in the shop. This year, we're going to add a new wrinkle to it. So before the open house starts, early that Thursday, if you're planning on coming, we're going to do what I'm calling the Woodsmith Garage Sale, in that we have a lot of projects that we've made for the TV show, for the magazine. We get tools in to review. We just have all kinds of stuff, and it sort of piles up. Think like your grandma's collection of National Geographics. And we want to sell those. So we're going to do that as a garage sale at Woodworking in America before it all starts. And if you're interested in some of the projects that we make, we're going to sell everything as is, cash and carry, walk out the door with a little piece of woodworking history, possibly.
Is it too pretentious to call it woodworking history?
Right. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe. I mean, it's the 20th season of the Woodsmith Shop TV show. So a little bit history making there. And then, like we said, maybe Logan's going to have a little table set up either at the garage sale or down at the fairgrounds. Uncle Logan's Antique Tools Emporium.
Yeah.
Especially for people here in the Midwest, where finding old tools is not as easy as it is on the East Coast, where it seems like all you have to do is like go around the corner, walk your dog, and you're tripping over a bunch of planes. So there you have it.
Phil makes it sound very poetic and easy. I don't know that it's that easy, but definitely easier.
But if you have a place in Maine, of all places, where there are 2 stores that are just jammed to the gills with old woodworking tools.
Yeah.
Like
we don't have that.
We don't have that.
Well, so that's part of what I talk about in the class. This is like, you're going to find stuff around you that reflects the industry of your area. So like,
and the age.
And the age. So like here in the Midwest, we find, you go to an antique store, you go to a flea market, you go to whatever, you find a lot of vintage farm stuff. Like that's what we do. We do corn, we do soybeans, right? But you go to like you go to Michigan, Great Lakes region. They did furniture. They did vintage power tools. Like, there was a big industry there doing that. So that's what you're going to find there. The original colonies, the 13 colonies, you're going to find older stuff there that helped build people's lives. Like, it just is what it is. So.
Yeah, no, it is. And I say most of that in jest.
Yes.
Like practically everything that we do here. It's the Shop Notes podcast for entertainment purposes only.
And does not reflect the views point of Active Interest Media.
Right. And simply because we know the fine woodworking people on the East Coast and we can poke each other back and forth. It's really fun.
We can. Yep.
But yes, you do have to find out, like where those specialties are. We have an agricultural state. So there's a lot of handsaws that are around, because that's what was a primary tool for people, Yep. So, one of the things that I like to do on the podcast here is have a listener viewer question. And this came up recently for me and goes just along with what we were talking about, is as woodworkers, if you have an interest in old tools, what would be like a good starter set of old tools to give to somebody who either is like a new homeowner, maybe interested in the craft, or, it's just past graduation season here. So, college graduate, somebody starting out on their own, regardless of what it would be like. Is there a way that we can pass on our love of tools to another generation that's useful for them? So, for example, I was last week with my in-laws in Southeast Missouri, Swamp East Missouri, as they call it, and helping out my brother-in-law with a deck repair. And one tool that I think should be in most homeowners' kits that aren't is like a good 2 to 2.5, maybe 3 pound maul, hand sledge, whatever you want to call it, engineer's hammer. I mean, everybody needs like a good claw hammer for doing hammering stuff, but you need a thumper. That's and I was thinking like, I have some nieces and nephews on both sides of my family. And I was thinking like, maybe Uncle Phil just gets to be known as the guy who gives you the big hammer when you graduate. And, like it's going to come in way more useful than you think.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and then that got me started. Like, what other tools would you add to that? Obviously like a claw hammer, where does that go?
Yankee number 1 drill driver combo, push screwdriver. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Like a basic chisel, like a nice chisel, maybe a small level, block plane. I think
depends on what they're doing. Yeah.
Depends
on what they're doing.
Even if you have a house, like a block plane can, swipey swipe on a door and all of a sudden it fits and doesn't stick anymore. Anyway, just, I would love to hear from our listeners. If you had a list of, let's keep it kind of small, 5 to 10 tools that would be great vintage tools to gift to other people, even though I hate to use the word gift as a verb, but that's where we're at. Tell me what you think. We'll talk about it next time on it.
So the one thing we didn't cover that we said we were going to was the Grizzly tent sale.
The Grizzly tent sale, right. Speaking of old tools, but new tools.
And as is tools, cash and carry.
Cash and carry. All of that. It's coming. This whole podcast is just coming together.
Full circle. Yeah, we went down for that. Was that 2 weekends ago now?
Yep.
And like we say this every year, it's just a fun time. Like, and we're there for work, right? Like it is part of our partnership with Grizzly that Phil and I are going to be down there and we are going to do demos, hand out magazines, and just basically chit chat with people as they're walking around shopping. also helped sell a lot of stuff because I was able to answer a lot of questions and direct people to where they needed to go to buy said items. But it's fun. I spent money this year, which I have not done in the past. But man, when those guys start making deals, so like
they make deals.
And for like people that don't know about the tent sale, and I got a few Facebook remarks that were like, "Ooh," I had posted photos of it getting, like as the tent sale was getting. Gates had not been open yet, but we were walking around the tent area and like taking photos of stuff. And I posted some photos to the Popwood page. People were like, "Oh, it'd be nice if you said the dates and the location so we knew where it was." It's like, listen here, Craig, if you're not within the area, you're not coming anyways. And guess what? Somebody else was like, "Well, you could just Google it like I did and found out where it was and when it was." It's like, yeah, or sign up for their email and then you'll know. No. But anyways, it is a 2-day. I say it's a 2-day event. The tent sale is really only 1 day. Let's be very clear, because there were people that showed up Friday expecting to be able to go into the tent sale, and that's not the case. The Friday, this is in Springfield, Missouri. The Friday at the Grizzly showroom is their customer appreciation day. So that is like there are tables set up in there, like big folding tables that are set up full of like stuff that they are clearancing out. Like it is a clearance sale for some items. They had, dial indicator stands for half off. They had a bunch of, what were the dado blades they had for like $70, and they were like a $300 dado blade. It was like the Freud dado blade or whatever.
Yes, the Freud ones. Yeah.
So like there's just good deals. So that's on Friday, and Phil and I are there handing out magazines, talking to people,
doing some demos on Friday. Yep. Did a sawmilling demo on their sawmill outside. We demoed their new wide belt sander. I'm calling it wide belt sander. It's a 18-inch belt sander, digitally controlled belt sander. Showed off their new table saw blades. So like that's Friday. It's more of like a, come in, they have popcorn, they have donuts in the morning, like wander around, coffee, just take a look at stuff. The big event is Saturday morning. And people started lining up. Bobby Three Fingers showed up. I think he said he got there at 4 a.m. or 5 a.m, and he was like maybe 15 or 20 people back in the line. So people start lining up early for this thing. And in their back parking lot, they set up maybe 4 or 5 circus tents. Like I'm talking like big tents. And they put all of their like scratch and dent, or returned, or, kind of what they call as is items out there. And there is everything from, router bits to 5,000-pound lathes that are too big for a forklift to pick up. Like there is everything. Right.
If you are looking for it, it is out there.
Yeah. Basically, it feels like, I'm sure it's not, but it feels like there's one of everything at least from the Grizzly catalog out there.
Yes. And
I'll put some photos on the show notes page so you can kind of get a scale of what's going on with it. But if you have or request the current Grizzly catalog,
it's huge.
And they have a picture in there of what their facility looks like in Springfield, and you can see where they do the tent sale in the background, and it's a spectacle. And I would say that it is just as much fun if you're within, like we said, we were there for work, but if you're within driving distance of the area, it's a great people watching experience to see. Yeah. Like I saw several young families there where they were filling out their first workshop. And I saw people there who are small business owners who were looking to upgrade tools. And so they had everything from like small benchtop entry level tools, perfect for somebody, to like, what was that one big lathe? You got to tell the story of the lathe. It was a South Bend. Yeah. So back you up a little bit. All of this stuff is as is.
it may be a customer return. It may be flawless, and it will just say on the tag customer return. So to lay the land, all these tools are set up, and they all have a tag on them, and it's a 2-layer tag. So the front layer says what the tool is, says what's wrong with it if something's wrong with it. So like there was I think 3 or 4 gunsmith lathes there, so like metal lathes designed for gunsmithing, that were like $5,000 lathes, and they were marked down to $1,200 a piece. They had no motors, so at some point they were either returned, or the motors were bad, or they were used for parts. Sometimes they'll say parts only lathe. Sometimes they will say needs motor to operate, but they're marked dirt cheap. And there's a huge table full of motors. So like you could buy any motor you wanted there. So like if you get to a tool and that's what you want, you rip the front tag off, and then behind it says sold.
Right.
And then as the Grizzly staff members are walking around, if they see a tag that has been ripped off and it says sold, they write the current time on there. And their rule is that if it has not been paid for, so when you go pay for a item you bought, they give you a green tag with your name on it, and then you go put that green tag on the machine you bought. That indicates that it's been paid for and it is no longer for sale. If a tag has a time written on it that was 2 hours ago, they're assuming that somebody ripped the tag off and then decided they didn't want it, so they will re-tag it for sale again. So you kind of have, if you get a tag, you get 2 hours to pay for it, basically. So sometimes people will go through and rip off, 4 jointer tags, and then they'll kind of decide which one they want because they're trying to beat other people to them. It's what people do. It's kind of it's the running of the beards, as somebody called it. So it's just a bunch of old guys running to get their tools they want. But I kind of found my way to the metalworking tools. Like I don't need any woodworking tool. I got a lot of woodworking tools, but kind of interested in a South Bend lathe. There was a few South Bend lathes there. One of the South Bend lathes was a giant unit of considerable proportions, and it was big enough that there was one Grizzly person just standing there trying to sell this lathe to people. So basically there to answer questions. It is I don't remember what the swing on it was, but it was 4,400 pounds. And I know that because the forklift would not pick it up. The retail price on that lathe was $45,000, I believe. Do you have it pulled up there?
Yeah, it was one of their tornado ones.
Yes. Yeah, they have a couple different sizes. This lathe was giant. The retail price on it, the price they sell it for brand new is $45,000, give or take $1,000. And they had it marked down to $6,500. And I don't remember exactly what was wrong with it. It was like it needed a new VFD control box or something. So it was like, you might put another $1,000 in it to get this thing running. And the girl that was standing there, she's like, "Look, I've sold lathes forever." And she's like, "This chuck." There was a 4-jaw chuck that came with that lathe it was probably 20 inches in diameter. It was huge. She's like, "This chuck is a $7,000 chuck." And then the faceplate's like $3,000. And we sell the tailstock for, $4,500. Like, so like one of those things where it's like, if you look at the price of what you're paying, you're getting a absolute steal. And a guy ended up purchasing the lathe and then trying to drag it out with the forklift. They had a forklift that was big enough to pick it up, but not the one that could fit in the tent. So this was a very awkward situation. Like there was a forklift that could get into the tent and turn, get the forks under it. And as he started to pick it up, the back end of the forklift started going in the air. So 3 or 4 of us jumped on the pallet with the lathe to try to counterbalance it and get the weight further forward. Did not work. So they basically drug it out to where they could get the Heister forklift in there, which is like a 15,000 pound forklift out to pick it up. It was unbelievable. So it was just cool. And then the flow of this thing is, there's a big rush, and then that's 8 o'clock when they open the gates, and then 9:30, 10 o'clock stuff starts getting retagged, and there gets to a point where there is a handful of product managers or management of Grizzly walking around starting to mark prices down. So like if you see something that hasn't been taken that you're interested in, a lot of times you can grab somebody and be like, hey, Jack, like you guys have this listed for, $500. What would you do on it? And they'll mark it down for you, and you can negotiate a little bit. And these guys loved, like the attendees loved to negotiate.
Yeah.
Which is how I ended up with a bunch of things. Whoops. So yeah, I ended up bringing home a violin kit. Mm-hmm. I was standing there talking to the facilities manager of the grid. He's the general manager of the Springfield location. He's like, "You need a violin kit?" I was like, "Nope." He's like, "Do you need it for $20?" I was like, "Yep." So ended up bringing that home. I brought home 2 power feeders. So I now have a power feeder on my jointer, which is amazing. And then I also have a power feeder on my shaper. Brought home a digital readout, a DRO for my vertical mill. It might be too long. Phil and I were kind of standing there looking at it. They had it marked down to such a good price. Like I could not take it. Like it might... Financially, it might make more sense to buy a bigger mill than to buy the correct DRO. But I bought a DRO. What else did I end up with? Oh, the rotary table for the vertical mill.
Yep.
I bought a little 6 or 8 inch rotary table. So, you mounts to the table of the mill, and then you can crank a handle and the table spins. So you can do like arcs and stuff and curves, and you can actually flip it on edge and do work around the outside edge of a circle. So yeah, pretty cool. It's so fun. Like this is the first year I've actually spent money there. So it was one of those things like, crap.
Yep.
So I did send, I sent Mike from Grizzly. He's their metal working product manager. I sent him and Jack Blackburn on a chase for a metal lathe for me. I bought this South Bend cabinet a couple of years ago from these guys. And it was designed to go under a South Bend metal lathe that they had made. It was called the South Bend 10K. It was their heavy 10 lathe. And they discontinued it because the factory that was making it, basically for them to make that smaller lathe was just as much work for them to make the bigger lathes that were, $35,000-$40,000. So they're like, we don't want to make these small ones. So basically the factory said, we're done making these for you. And Grizzly does not, the South Bend is kind of a premium line for them. So they're not going to just let anybody make it. So they're looking for a factory that can make it to the quality they want. And Mike is like, yeah, I think I have one of those lathes sitting in the warehouse still. It's kind of been sitting there as a, hold on to it in case we find somebody that can make it. And we have a sample here of it. So I was like, hey, if you have one, you want to sell it? So him and Jack started kind of looking for it for me, but they did not have one, fortunately or unfortunately. So we'll see. So,
right.
But yeah, it was a great time. I enjoy it. It's a long drive. It's not awful. It's like 5.5 hours to get down there. I do enjoy the weekend. It's a good time going down there. It's a good time to just chat with the Grizzly guys, see what they got going on. They have a few new products they're working on that I don't think we can really talk about, which will be interesting to see. Some patented products coming out, which is new for Grizzly. Grizzly, for the most part, Grizzly has not designed products in the past. They have basically relied on their manufacturers to do the design and like, hey, we want this feature, please add it. And then the factory does the design on it. I think Grizzly has pulled some of that in-house, which is pretty cool. Right. So now there's some products coming from the minds of the Grizzly folk. So it'll be very interesting to see what they come out with.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, there you go. Extra long version of the ShopNotes podcast this week. Always want to hear any questions, comments, or smart remarks that you have of what's going on. Did you attend the Grizzly tent sale? So we talked to several listeners down there. Love to hear what you thought. Maybe if you are willing to, maybe share what you bought too. What kind of deals did you come across that you were looking for? The ShopNotes podcast is a production of Active Interest Media. It's mixed and edited by Nate Gruca. Ben Strano is the executive digital editor. It's a weekly woodworking podcast where we get to share our enthusiasm and love for this craft with a bunch of other folk. We will see you next week, everybody. Bye.